It was the kind of disrespect that no leader, let alone one with such a storied past, could ignore. Ibrahim Traoré, the young and fierce president of Burkina Faso, had weathered wars, revolutions, and betrayals. But this was something different. On the stage of an international conference in the heart of Nigeria, a respected politician looked him in the eyes and belittled him with a single venomous comment. What happened next was nothing short of legendary: introduction and setup. The air was thick with anticipation in the bustling city of Abuja, Nigeria. Leaders from across Africa and beyond had gathered at the Grand Hall, scent of polished wood and expensive cologne filling the air. The room, with its high ceilings and flickering chandeliers, buzzed with voices, each echoing off the marble floors like a distant thunderstorm. Among the crowd stood Ibrahim Traoré, tall and unyielding, his dark eyes scanning the room with quiet intensity. His reputation had spread like wildfire across the continent. The young leader of Burkina Faso, once a soldier, now a president, had navigated the political labyrinth of Africa with the wisdom of someone far beyond his years. But today, he was here to broker peace, to forge alliances, and to secure a future for his nation that had long been mired in violence and instability. Across the room, seated at a long, polished table, was a Nigerian politician, Senator Gabriel, an influential figure known for his sharp tongue and scathing criticisms. Gabriel had always been known for his political prowess, his ability to command respect. But today, something about the way he looked at Ibrahim struck a chord of unease. In the air, the tension was palpable. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath. "Ibrahim Traoré, what are you doing here?" Senator Gabriel's voice rang out, a mocking tone lacing his words. "A soldier? A rebel now? A president? What have you truly achieved except dragging your country further into the abyss?" Gasps filled the room. Other leaders froze, waiting for Ibrahim's reaction. But to everyone's surprise, the young president did not flinch. He simply stood tall, his hands clenched by his sides, his gaze unwavering. Conflict or challenge introduced, the laughter that followed Gabriel's words seemed to echo through the room, cruel reminder of the disrespect that had been leveled. At Ibrahim, there was something in the way the young leader stood, something unshakable that caught everyone off guard. President Bola Tinubu, who had been silently observing, suddenly stood from his seat. His sharp eyes were fixed on Gabriel, his demeanor calm yet radiating an undeniable authority. The crowd quieted as the president of Nigeria, a man with decades of political experience, began to walk toward the stage. As Tinubu approached, the spotlight seemed to shift. His voice, when it came, was low and controlled, yet filled with the weight of an unspoken promise. "Ibrahim Traoré," Tinubu said, his voice a balm to the tension in the room, "has earned his place in history. Not through empty words, but through action. You, Gabriel, have forgotten what true leadership means." With a swift motion, Tinubu extended his hand to Ibrahim, a gesture that spoke louder than any words could. The crowd watched in stunned silence, as the two men, one seasoned by decades of politics, the other forged by war-locked eyes. In that brief moment, something shifted. The respect that had been lacking in the room for Traoré now began to materialize. The gesture was symbolic, a public declaration that Ibrahim Traoré, despite his young age and his past as a soldier, was deserving of the respect he had fought for, not just as a leader, but as a man. Midpoint revelation or twist? But the shock wasn't over. As the handshake between Tinubu and Traoré lingered, the room began to stir. The tension of the previous moments seemed to dissolve, but something more profound was happening. Senator Gabriel's face had changed. What was once smug arrogance began to crack, replaced by something unexpected: shame. As the weight of his own words settled on him, he realized the depth of his mistake. He had not just disrespected a fellow leader, he had underestimated the power of resilience. He had forgotten the kind of battles that built men like Ibrahim Traoré. The Nigerian president's voice broke through the silence again. "You speak of history, Gabriel," Tinubu said, his gaze fixed on the senator. But you forget that history does not belong to those who sit in comfort. It belongs to those who rise, against all odds, and lead when others cower. Ibrahim Traoré, though quiet, had now found his voice. His words, though few, carried the force. Of a storm, we fight for our people. We rise for those who have no voice. I will not be defined by your words. I will be defined by my actions. Climax, emotional breakthrough, the room was still. There was no applause, no words of praise. Just the raw, undeniable weight of respect that had shifted the balance of power in that very room. In that instant, President Tinubu's expression softened. The truth was clear. The young man who had risen from the ashes of a broken country had done what many thought impossible. He had united a fractured people. He had led a revolution, not through violence, but through the courage of conviction. Ibrahim Tinubu said, his voice now thick with respect, "You've shown me that leadership isn't given. It's earned with every sacrifice, every tear, and every battle fought for the greater good." It was a turning point. The world had witnessed something rare in old guard, passing the torch to the new, a mentor recognizing the strength of the next generation, resolution, and quiet closure as the conference continued. The words spoken in that room would echo far beyond these walls. It wasn't just about politics or alliances. It was about respect, the kind of respect that is earned, not given. And in that moment, Ibrahim Traoré's place in history was sealed. The crowd began to disperse, the tension lifting as conversations flowed back into their usual rhythm. But one thing had changed. The world now understood the true power of humility, resilience, and the unexpected. Outside the grand hall, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the city. In the quiet aftermath, Ibrahim Traoré stood alone for a moment, looking out over the horizon. The weight of leadership was heavy, but for the first time, felt ready. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.